had a good session last night. Had a small group of people, but nevertheless, we're gonna go through some of that stuff we covered last night because it's important. I want to give I'm going to go through a little bit of that in a few minutes to give a full take, just in case some people miss some things also, because some of this stuff is still on the agenda, especially the Iraqi war that just went down. And the real stuff behind that, although I did pass out the little newsletter that was the stuff that actually happened, that was taken about 2 weeks before the war started, or maybe two or 3 weeks before the war started. This is a recap on that to show that there were some things that happened behind the physical element, and believe me, there's nothing physical about it when these people go to war. These people don't go to war for physical things anymore, or any types of things with the rest of the world. They disagree with the rest of the world because they run the world. They run the world. So, I mean, they run the planet now. When we talking about the Illuminati and these so-called secret societies, but then again, on the other hand, it's still just white supremacy. Don't let nobody fool you. Don't fall for the okie doke when they come up to you and say, we in this together, because their family members has decided that they are obsolete. You see what I'm saying? Where were you when we was getting his ass whipped? So don't fall for the okie doke now, because we also understand that they're running scared. I just saw this movie, which was a good movie, funny movie too. What's that? Almighty Bruce.
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty. And shoot, he had a week of being God and had to turn it back over to the black man and beg him to, beg him to be God, beg the black man to be God. It was interesting. That was very interesting and all, to go in, and Morgan Freeman is playing God. Morgan Freeman is playing God, and he has to turn around and he gives this guy this I think about a week and a half of being God, and he couldn't take it. You see, so that's very interesting how that was, for the mere fact that they're going to put a black man as God in a movie in the first place. Which is a hell of a statement, you see, and it's not by mistake that they released it last weekend, but last weekend still the hysteria was over the Matrix, you see, which is all black in the whole scenario when you look at that particular aspect. When they look at that particular aspect, and we don't know how the third movie is going to end up, but we'll go into a little bit of that in a few minutes. But the reason why they do these things is because it's a major ritual. That's why it's a major ritual. So don't let anybody fool you to think that, and we say this, that anything that you get on the news is legitimate, or the newspaper. I got a friend that says, well, I read the newspaper every day. So with black people, when we got into our form of education, we figured that we separate ourselves from people that wasn't uneducated just by reading the newspaper every day, which just puts you more on lockdown. Because the simple fact that the enemy don't lie some of the time, the enemy lies all the time. You see what I'm saying? And even like Brother Dick Gregory said, that you have to read about a good, 10 or 15 or 20 newspapers just to get the truth. Just to get the truth. My ex-girlfriend used to work, still does work at Atlanta Journal and Constitution, which is a major newspaper in this country. They own 4 other newspapers in 4 other cities. And basically, I always knew then, but I always knew then that it was that way. But when it came to getting the information, I knew that by her being inside of the actual paper, we knew that it was a consensus agreed upon that they didn't report anything outside of an AP wire that the government said they had to report. So therefore, you're going to get lost by any type of mass media. You're going to get lost by trying to follow that as far as the aspect of trying to get the truth out of things. And they were doing a whole lot of mind control and a whole lot of stuff like all of a sudden, because they couldn't get the whole European community, all of a sudden it became a coalition forces. It became coalition forces, you know, other than the United States troops going in there and going in and doing all the fight. It became the coalition forces and all this kind of crazy stuff. So what you got here is you have different types of mind control going on. We're going to go into some of this particular information. We got a lot of stuff to cover. So this is one of the places that I don't get thrown out of. So we're gonna push it to the maximum. We're gonna push it to the maximum. We're gonna push it to the maximum of what the deal is. Hey, Darryl.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And we're going to push it to the maximum. I'll tell you in a minute what the deal is. What we're going to do is, so we're going to be here a while. We got a lot of stuff to cover because the last time I was here was October. So, last time I was here was October. So, I'm just trying to see if there's any other thing here. I don't know how should we do this and all. I'll start off with a libation, or we can start off with a little question and answer, or whatever you want to deal with. I have two tapes. One tape that I'm proud of that I did in New York. It's called, what's the name of that thing? The Warlord one?
100 years of lynching.
Yeah, it's a tape of the brother in New York, and if we don't have enough, you just check with Darryl and you can get more through him. Don't forget to get his information and his number before you leave, and let him and get more from him. It's a tape his brother was wanting to do, was a tape on the lynching, because we know we got 6,000 so-called lynchings, as well as 6,000 missing. It's supposed to be the report, but anytime they give you a report of they say 6,000 or something like that, you gotta always add another 6. Even in when I used to work for certain groups dealing with stuff in the community, and any kind of disease or any type of thing, they used to teach you that whatever they say, if they say it's 5, say it's 10. You know what I'm saying? They're always going to keep the numbers down low because they don't want panic or whatever. Or they want to still, get out of this thing squeaky clean. So we did a lecture on lynching because this brother in New York was saying, well, we need to do this. And he had asked a couple of scholars or a couple of people who came through his place when he makes these videos to do something, and they only ended up doing about 15 minutes. So I said, well, look, so I did one called I did one on hip-hop, and I noticed how it was going because it was supposed to have been something, it was a comprehensive video on the whole hip-hop thing that's been in full bloom for almost 20 years now. So therefore, it was legitimate enough to do something behind the whole hip-hop aspect. So I went in and tried it, and was going to do 15 minutes plus some other stuff. 15 minutes plus some other stuff. I'm straight. I'm straight. There's because there's the visual book I want people also to get. And so I did a 15 minutes on the hip hop thing, and there was so much information until it started coming into 1 hour, and it ended up being 6 hours. That 6 hours, the hip hop one too. So I noticed then that the spirit was pushing the issues and trying to get a certain amount of things out. So the next time he said, well, I'm going to do something on this lynching. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what. So the next time I did that, I did the hip-hop one in March, and I came back in April in Harlem. And so we sat down, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, we're just going to pour the libation, we're going to split the rum, and then we're just going to let it go from there, let the ancestors do it. That way, if the ancestors are mad, then we're going to let it be mad. You see what I'm saying? Let them be mad and all. And I said, we'll see how they come. If they want to be all this, thou, and thine that you think that the church all gives them, and all, then let's see what happens. So shoot, we split the room, and the first thing they came out started doing, they started cursing and everything else. And I'm saying, okay then, because we talking about these souls, these restless souls. You see what I'm saying? That didn't have proper burial, proper, you know, and just the violent way they died. You know, so we did this, and it ended up being 6 hours, and the spirits actually put forth the tape. So we have that one. We have that particular one, and we're saying this because there's a lot of things that's happening with the ancestors that we talked about last night. A lot of things happening with that. I want to give out some new names of some new entities. There's, since 2000, I mean, I studied a lot of this information for 15 years, and I started lecturing 11 years ago. 11 years ago, it'll be 11 years next month, well, I think June. And I had to unearth hundreds of deities of the ancient world. But it wasn't until 2001, like March of 2001, all of a sudden, right at the millennium, that these new entities started coming. So what this was you had the old entities that would mutate or transmutate into new entities. So as a result, the first 5 came, and then over the course of the summer, another 2 came, so that went to about 7. And then by the end of the year, we had about a good 7 or 8. And by the end of 2002, we were up to like 21 or 22. So, but the ones that came in 2001, 2001 and part of 2002 is right at about 10 deities that's active. So 10 deities is active. Now, don't sleep on this, because I've been studying the occult realm as far as what the Europeans have been doing, and this is the type of stuff that they've been searching for. They've been searching for breakthroughs, some kind of way to save themselves. And when we get into this whole thing based on the war, that's what we'll also be talking to. They're always searching for breakthroughs. In John Stockwell's tape, My 25 Years in the CIA, he said that, they said, well, what did you do in the CIA? He said, well, I spent 25 years in Africa. He said, well, what was the objective? They said, to seek out underground hidden societies. That's what he looked for and searched for 25 years. So they are looking for the breaks. They're looking for a breakthrough. They're not going to get the breakthrough because this is an ancestral thing. And this is an ancestral thing with the original people on the planet. So therefore, they fucked on this one. But that's not going to stop them. That's why that's a major issue when they have Bruce Almighty in the movie. Morgan Freeman playing God, tell him he can be God for a week, and at the end of the movie, he begs him to be God again. Well, that's also them trying to get an extension. There's a lot of rituals that's going on in this thing. So they're trying to, we want to go into this intricate matter of how they are doing things in the spirit world to say, well, they're setting it up one way. Well, Neo is going to be the Messiah in the Matrix. So don't sleep on that, because, see, that's still trying, because psychologically, that's still white supremacy in one way. You just shedded this whole white Jesus Christ thing over, well, you should have, over the couple of years, and most of us didn't. Because most black people still accept that same white Jesus Christ. And then you get Neo, you see what I'm saying, in the Matrix and stuff. So it's still psychologically, I mean, we champion the whole thing because we like the series and all, but they know what they're doing. Psychologically, they want to put that image of the white Messiah, even perpetuate this thing on into the millennium. So it's very key. You see what I'm saying? How they do things. They take, for instance, your boy now in his movie, The Green Mile, he had John Coffey, which was Jesus Christ. John Coffey, JC. He had John Coffey as this particular entity, but they killed him in the end. But even that, he got crucified. Dick Gregory talked about that, how he did the John Coffey, what's your boy name, Stephen King, and right after the movie was released, he gets in a car wreck, or he gets run over by a car, gets hit by somebody.
The guy who played John Coffey?
No, Stephen King, the one who wrote it. So we're still talking about a major ritual, if you got to understand how sophisticated this thing is. And so the key here is, and we always say this, And it talks about this, the neophyte, which is the people that don't know, always depend and gravitate towards the apparent. The apparent. So if it's the apparent, that's not good enough. You must always look for that particular aspect that does not make common sense or does not seem to fit in the program that they're trying to give you. And that's very key, especially in mind control. So if it makes common sense, if it's logical, if it's rational, it's probably the wrong thing. Because they know that you are designed to think on a lot. You educated folks are designed to think on a logical, rational level. That left brain, Eurocentric mindset. As a 60-year-old white man in a gray suit and big black shoes. So when you put on your education, you say, well, I want to be a little intellectual. Your mindset is still a 60-year-old conservative white man in big black shoes. You got to understand the concept here of white supremacy. Whereas by the 2000, they say that if you are not thinking European, you're not human. So they have colonized thought on the planet. And you got people from all over the world, from Asia to Africa, in retreat to become European. You see, so if you're not thinking on this level, you're like the dinosaurs. And we are and we are applauding our black people that somehow resemble these particular people. You see what I'm saying? And the insanity that's going on. Oprah just spent in April, Oprah just bought a house for $50 million. It's the most, and I didn't know this, but they said, but I didn't know this, but then again they say, well, that's why white people got money, the ones that got the money, because they don't spend money. It's only the motherfuckers who don't have money is the ones who spend the damn money. But the people who got money, they don't spend money. That's why Bill Gates wears a plastic Timex, a plastic digital watch. So she spent $50 million on a house. $50 million. They said this is the most has ever been paid for a house. So normally, but see, that's the way it is with people who don't have money. They figure that rich people spend money like that all the time. But here it is. They say, no, this is a record. There's never been this much money spent on a house, a personal home in America. And then they said that, but the house only cost $14 million a year before. So she saw some white person house out in Malibu, Santa Barbara. She loved this home, and so she asked to buy it. White people said no. And she wanted it so bad, it was like, well, $50 million. You know, this get a nigga a figure. She ain't gonna pay that. And this fool paid $50 million. Can you understand the psychological ramifications of a black person paying $50 million? And we haven't done anything for ourselves financially as an institution in this country on that magnitude ever. And here it is, you're gonna waste it on a home that only cost $14 million a year before? You hear the old term, we saw a nigga coming. But here's this $14 million. I'm quite sure they figure, well, you know, we giving this outlandish price because we don't figure nobody gonna pay that much for the house. But she paid that much for a home that only cost $14 million. She paid $50 million. You see, it's still, the home is still only worth $14 million. And somebody saw them crackers who bought it coming with the $14 million. You see the science here? But this is the insanity that we are faced with on this particular level. So, going back, they are locked into a desperate struggle on this occult realm. And I started seeing signs of it and I talk about this, I started seeing signs of it in 2000 because I was always incognito. You know, I never let them know. In retrieving the information over the years, I never let them know what I was into. You see what I'm saying? And I got that, and you know, that's just common sense. You know what I'm saying? You never, you know, and one of the things is, and I tell the story about when we went to this conspiracy conference, UFO conference back in 1992, end of 92, or the early 93. And the guy stepped up to me, some white boy, this is way out in Chamblee, way out in the white area in Atlanta. And the white boy stepped up to me and I'm like, damn, you the Coca-Cola man, you the Pepsi-Cola man that comes to the black community in the AU Center where they have all the black colleges. He's like, yeah. He grinning every day. He said, you never know who the hell you talking to. See, incognito. You know, he's out here at a major meeting. You see what I'm saying? And that's what Chancellor Williams said. They meet on you every day. You see what I'm saying? And there's nobody invited to the meetings. You see what I'm saying? So that's another thing. We don't have to include them because remember now, they've been in meeting on us for at least for 150 years. When these societies started springing up in the late 1800s, and no black people were invited. Now all of a sudden, now we just feel that it's not authentic now unless we got the white boy up in here. You see what I'm saying? But the key here is I started seeing a shift in things in 2000 when, by me being incognito, and there was another brother down there, started talking to these particular people. And he introduced me one day, and I'm like, oh, here you go now. Cat is out the bag. I've been lecturing for 8 years, and these white boys, though, I see them every day. And all of a sudden, so we started talking. I said, well, what the hell? Let's see where we're going to go with this thing. And I started dealing with certain things, and they were surprised that we even knew this type of information. And about a year later, in 2000, they started soliciting black people that they knew things. So all of a sudden, they started coming and trying to get us to join certain groups. So these groups that's been in operation for over 100-something years now, they're trying to find black people. And they can get as many as they can, but then again, on the other hand, they're not going to get the true people because those people are inferior anyway. So they're stepping to these particular people now and telling these people, hey, you can come and, we want you to join these groups. We want you to come and do research with us. So it was one brother that graduated FAMU back in 99, and he's been studying some of this stuff, this information. All of a sudden, the OTO, which is Crawley's group, he went to a certain ceremony they had, and they saw him, and he started talking. He started corresponding to the white boy. The white boy was like, yeah, we want you to do research with us. So he called all happy. Yeah, man, they want me to do research. I'm like, man, are you crazy? I said, you don't understand. They don't want you to do research as if they're going to give you something. They're looking for you to give them answers. They're looking for you to give them answers. So they're going to step to these black people and tell you that we want you to do research. We want you to come in. They might even give you grants and fun shit. The whole concept here is they're trying to use your energy to get answers because they are at a deadlock standstill and ain't nothing coming their way. And this is what this Iraqi war was about. You see what I'm saying? Was about. So therefore, they're looking for certain things. They want to see the response of when they put out the movie The Matrix. They want to see the response of this movie, whether you're going to take heed or take note that they are bearing witness that the black man or the black woman in that aspect is God. Because one week they announced that even the woman in the Matrix, that the whole Matrix was part due to the oracle in the movie, which is the black woman. Might I add, she ended up mysteriously dying in real life right after she did that scene. After they taped that, she ended up dying in real life. But the key here is they did mention that she was a part of the Matrix. Well, in reality, in the history, that's what the word Matrix means, matriarchal. The Matrix is a form of the Great Mother, the fallen Great Mother, because the earth, the physical Maya plane that we live on, is the fabric of the feminine essence that made the earth. That's where you get Mother Earth. So they are right in part, but they made sure that it was a black woman that they were showing on that particular aspect. And then a week later, they come with the black man being God. Then you got to understand the difference between the two. They put out these movies in sequence like that, you see, and they do this at that particular, the way they do these movies, it's all one movie. So they did the X-Men 2 weeks before the Matrix, you see, and the one that was the only elemental that was basically the only elemental one that had something to do with the earth, with the forces of nature, is Halle Berry, which is Storm, which is fashioned after the goddess Oya in Europe, because even in the cartoon version, it used to come on. What's that? I think it was
still does.
It still comes on. Yeah. The cartoon version that used to come on, when they went to Storm's home, they had to go to Nigeria. So, they had to go to Nigeria because in so many words, they were talking about the goddess Oya. So, they're putting all this particular stuff together. They got one called the Underworld that's supposedly it's coming out in September. They got the Hulk that's coming out, which is key because in the Horus method, the church has been telling you you don't need to be angry. You need to cut down on your anger. But in the Sanskrit text is when, like I said last night, when Shiva wants to, Shiva, which is the Christ energy, wants to get shit done is when he gets mad and he kills people with his third eye. Or the first eye, or the third eye, the pineal gland. So all this is metaphysical aspect of things that's actually going on. So they don't want you to get mad. You see what I'm saying? They don't want you to get mad in that particular aspect. Not unless you get mad at other black people. The key here is we still talking about an elaborate ritual, and now all of this type of stuff is going on at the same time, right around this whole Iraqi war thing. Like take for instance, and I talked about this last night. They released the movie Doom, The Children of Doom. They released that movie one day on a Sunday. That Monday, Bush comes on TV and gives the ultimatum. Gives the ultimatum that if you tell Saddam Hussein to stand down and give himself up and get out of Iraq, you see what I'm saying, and give him 48 hours. Now, the movie Doom, you have Arrakis, you have sand dunes, Arrakis, you have the spice, you have something that's very important, that's very pertinent. All of this is going on in a ritual, and they released the movie one day, and it's a 3-day movie. The next day, he's giving this ultimatum. So this is all in the actual cycle that is actually going on, and because we are not allowed to understand the spirit world because we are all in religion. You see what I'm saying? And we're not, and also too, we're on the survival level. So you might think that, what is survival level? Well, they used to, like one sister told me from Ethiopia, she said, well, I hear what you're talking about, all the stuff you're talking about, but fortunately with her, her eyes was open because the father was from America, was a brother from over here, and the mother was Ethiopian, so they got to live in both places. Otherwise, you wouldn't get no damn Ethiopian ever saying nothing to you. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing that's clear about the Ethiopians and most of the Africans and shit. They're not allied with you. And I be funny with this mess. There's a romanticism, but then again, on the other hand, there's a whole other agenda that the Europeans is getting ready to do. And we see now this is in all the courts up in New York and stuff. The people that's working in the courts now to handle the black people with the heavy hands is the Africans. So that's another enemy. We know that's going to be the new Jew, the new Arab, or the new Korean, whatever they used to send people in the community to treat black people with a heavy hand. The African is slated for that. And it's real big in New York already. So let's not be funny with this romanticism. But one of the sisters was saying, she was given the observation that she knew the people that she grew up with in Ethiopia and partially grew up in America. But here goes again, she's a hip-hopper now, just like one of the brothers. So she's, they went to the AU Center, and so they got into consciousness when they saw this particular aspect of consciousness in relating to Africa and relating to ancient black information. But normally, if they didn't have that particular experience with their father, who was African and American, or I want to get out of that term, a brother, a black man in America, indigenous in America, then they would have been dead like the rest of the Ethiopians. But because they had the dichotomy, they became conscious, they became aware. And as a result, like she was making the observation, she's saying, that the people on the continent, people in Africa, they are never not in a state of survival. Everything that they do is based on survival. 90% of getting up in the morning, got to go to the market, got to get the food, you know what I'm saying, because they don't have supermarkets on that particular level. A lot of things that they deal is based on survival. So they are in a survival mode all the time, so they can't look up and contemplate higher ideals. And higher ideas, you see what I'm saying, on metaphysics, philosophy, or whatever, because the whole concept here, they're in a flux of survival all the time. And this is how they can keep people, indigenous people, on lockdown on the planet. You see what I'm saying? Well, in black people in America, you still on a part of survival, because everything now here is, it's not a change from you going to the market and trying to get food for your children on that particular level, you see where you got to buy food that is not processed. So you got to go every day and get something fresh. You see what I'm saying? That's how it is in the Caribbean. A lot of aspects of things. But you still on lockdown for the simple fact that everything you do is when you get up in the morning, it's survival because you live in a capitalistic society. So everything is based on survival. Even when, as we speak, we want to know, God damn it, if my light's going to get cut off tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like Thursday, Thursday, I go get up and I'll go take a damn shower and go in there down there freeze to death because an hour before they done cut off my goddamn gas. I think maybe about 2 hours before they cut off my gas. And walked in there and hollered in the fucking bathroom because the damn shit was cold. You see what I'm saying? But so we talk about that survival. You see what I'm saying? So we can't break that state of survival, especially the people on the lower aspect of the economic ladder. We're still in this state of this flux of survival. So therefore, this type of information, or even just giving your time to think, to break through the matrix, is hard to do because we're in this same state. You see. Now it's interesting here because they blamed us for years saying, you know, you people never could get the capitalism together like other groups. But it's interesting now because, see, now it's been 10 years. Well, it's actually been 11 or 12 years now that Russia has tried the capitalistic thing, and they're saying they're failing miserably. They're saying they don't even know if these people will ever be able to become a capitalistic society or the free market or whatever society as the rest of their European counterparts. Now, wait a minute, I thought this was just indicative with Negroes here, you know, as far as, you know, you being incompetent or you being the people that just can't get business. Here it is, you got a whole group of white people, more white people is in America. Russia's a big continent. And yet they can't get the 10 years, and with all the aid, half the aid they cut off from you went for their people over in Russia, because they all stick together. And yet they just can't get it done. They're failing. They don't know where it's going to go. And they're actually saying, we pretty much know that the capitalism is not going to work for these people. Why? Because these people were not socialized for it. You understand what I'm saying? They were not socialized for this particular system of where you have to exploit people to survive. You understand what I'm saying? It takes a certain mentality, which means if you're looking at one way that you have to be at the top of your game in this particular market, what happens here is there's a certain spirit that burns out in you. That's what's happening to black people now. We are now a different people than what we were 20 years ago. Something dead about us, or something that's just, the creativity now is dying. Because we have accepted this goddamn crack away now. Now we don't even create no more. The creativity is dying. So now what you like, we talked about it yesterday, you go three weeks and you're getting cookie cutter black people that's doing the same thing. They think the same, they talk the same, they have the same discussion. You know, before we used to just have black people just invent something new. That was coming from the grassroots, but they done locked up all of them Negroes. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying, you know, the genius. You say, how that nigga thought of some shit like that? You know what I'm saying? And it didn't have anything to do with education. It was the creativity. They said if the black people in this country wasn't in this particular country, America would be a third-rate Europe. You see what I'm saying? Or a second-rate Europe. It would have never caught on as a unique country. It caught on as a unique country because of the black people or the indigenous original people in it. And our creativity. You see what I'm saying? Our creativity. And one brother was over in England. He was like, man, he said, I come back here and there's hardly no culture here compared to what I saw in England. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, man. I said, you are comparing white culture to their parents. So they ain't got a lot of stuff over there that they do, nasty ass crackers over there. And you're comparing whether the white people over here on the level as the people in Britain. I say, but there is a culture in America. The only one there is. And that's African culture or ancient indigenous culture or black culture. I put different things like that now because we got to get out of this whole continental bullshit. This whole continental aspect of one piece of landmass when the whole planet Earth was our shit. You see, so this is what's also fucking us up, is we still stuck on the continental aspect, but we had to start somewhere. So when the whole thing was laid down, the Afrocentric movement, and which is coming off of the university level, the white people said, well, you gotta pick something now. You can't be all over the damn earth now. Well, we are just giving you Africa. Hell, we was lying in Egypt. You know, they was even saying that South Africa was damn originally white. So they're saying, you know, you gotta pick something. Say, that's okay, we'll settle with Africa. So that's a political aspect where everything is in categories when you're dealing with the European aspect, the way he's going to present things. You see what I'm saying? Everything is in categories. So we understand we had to start somewhere, but we got to understand this particular part here also, that the whole concept, we're talking about the whole entire earth. That's why Iraq was very important, because we was talking about fighting on ancient indigenous Kushite soil. You see what I'm saying? So that is the reason why that was very important, because it was also about you. They wasn't going up and there getting up no Arabs ever had. You see what I'm saying? Because the Arabs never produced nothing. The white Arab. You understand what I'm saying? The white Arab. So the concept here is we still got to get that particular aspect out of our mind as far as this continental. We're more than continental. And as we go into this stuff, it's a universal thing and all, because when we start peeling back the layers, we find out that the only way that the white boy could have existed putting his foot up our ass is there had to be a group of guys that allowed them to do that. And they need to be unmasked also. So this is a war not just on the surface of the earth, but this is a war in the heavens. And they don't want to get up off the glory of sitting around doing nothing while we are their slaves. And we'll get into all of that type of stuff, but I'm going to politely read some stuff from the University of Chicago on Sanskrit text on how the actual gods that we worship say they don't even really like us. You know, the good part about it, I can say these things for the simple fact that, like we said again, I'm not a part of a group, so therefore I'm free to give you the research, because it's really not a blessing that you even know this stuff. It's a privilege that we all get to partake in this particular information. So what we're talking about here is, the concept here is we're not talking about a group where we're trying to convert anybody. We're talking about students looking at additional information and making up your own fucking mind. You see what I'm saying? Because in the damn story, the cult thing sure wasn't working for me, because my damn gas is cut off as we talk right now. So obviously, if I was into exploiting people, my gas would at least be on. So, shit, in the goddamn story. So I have no reason to come and try to get you to believe a certain way. That's not important. The thing is to still give the people additional information, you see, and you do what you want to do with the information. That's the difference when we talk about students and begging to be students. Why? Because all of the so-called cult leaders are being taken down. Dr. York, gone. Pleaded guilty, 15 years. He pleaded guilty. End of story. Won't ever get out. Dr. York, finished. H. Rap Brown, finished. Farrakhan, retired. He said he retired the other, you know. Your boy, he can't even mention nothing about Yahweh ben Yahweh. He can't even say the word Yahweh. He go back to jail. But what is going on? First of all, they're all male. That's the first thing. And all males, and what it is, we got the rise of the divine feminine, rising back up, the great mother. The rise of the new goddess, and the divine feminine rise back up. So therefore, if a male benefits from an old system of superiority, that whether it be put in by the white man, we still benefit from that shit by exploiting the people, the downtrodden, based on a patriarchal system, they going too. So what's happening here is, the reason why them niggas is in jail, because them niggas is going against the grain of the divine feminine. You see what I'm saying? H. Rap Brown put the veil over that sister's face. Black women walk around in Atlanta all covered up, you can't see nothing but their eyes. I'm glad that nigga in jail. You see what I'm saying? What's his name? People don't know. Dr. York ran a welfare ring for 20 years. You go in the community, you get on welfare, you give him the money, and this is the basis of where he built his civilization from. So you saw him down in Eaton with the pyramids and all that. You don't understand. He had the money from that. He started that in the 90s. That was nothing. He had exploited black women for damn near 20-something, 30 years. Telling people he's from the planet Risk and he write for Marcy Projects right out there in fucking Brooklyn. Same project that rapper Jay-Z and them is from. He's from Marcy Projects. Tell them motherfucker he from the planet Risk. I'm asking, I'm taunting the goddamn followers because you know you couldn't tell them shit. I'm like, I want to know how a motherfucker from the planet Risk can't get out of a goddamn jail cell. He got enough technology to come down here from the planet Risk and he can't bend no bars. But I know niggas from the ghetto can get out of every jail cell. I know a nigga from Mullins, South Carolina. They can't hold this motherfucker. You know? Get out of any jail, you know what I'm saying? So shoot, we don't have to be from planet Risk to do that. But my point here is what's going on here is they're crumbling. And it's not just the blacks, it's the whites too. The Catholic Church, gone. Islam, finished. They man, the cracker put their foot up them Arabs' ass, and they ain't nothing but a bunch of fuck boys. Because ever since 9/11, them old white nasty Arabs ain't nothing but a bunch of fuck boys. Which is good. Why? Because they were a part of the slave game too.
That's right. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? They got slavery going on right now in Mauritania and in Nubia and different places like that. So the hell with that white Arab. You see what I'm saying? So they put the papacy gone. Bunch of fuck boys. You know what I'm saying? You know, screwing men and stuff like that in the whole Pope thing, you know, in the Catholic Church. Like I say, buy them all a bunch of butt plugs and put around their head, their neck. Give them their butt plug because we know what they about. So what we're saying here is you seeing the walls tumbling down. You know, tumbling down. We see the walls are tumbling down. You see what I'm saying? And you see this stuff and all because you don't understand. That's the divine feminine coming back. You see what I'm saying? That's what's coming back. And so it's overturning all of these particular systems that put people on lockdown. And put people on lockdown, and it put the black man on lockdown because we are from a feminine society, a matriarchal society. You see, you got to understand the difference between that. Now, we are from a matriarchal society. So it put us on lockdown. You see what I'm saying? So this is very interesting how these things are overturning. They're not just, it's not just the black groups, they're getting the white groups. You see, so this is why they got to go up into Iraq to find certain rituals that they can save themselves when we go back into this particular science in a few minutes. But going on, like I said, I'm telling people this particular book is a must-have. Now don't be cheap because it's $22. You know what I'm saying? Niggas, when they come to buying a book, they act like they're buying a fucking house. You know what I'm saying? You know, some old nigga come to town singing, you spend $40, $50. You know what I'm saying? For some nigga coming to town singing. You see, some old gospel jubilee shit, you spend $40, $50. But here it is, you know, you can't, when it comes, $22, you act like you buying a house. You know what I'm saying? And you done spent $22 on some fucking roses. Something that's gonna rot in a few days. You see, it's just the mentality, just the priority. So this book here, and I'm not talking about you, but I'm just saying, then again, on the other hand, you know, shit. This thing here, the Dictionary of All Ancient Deities. This is the one that's must have. You gotta get this book and have this book as a reference. The Dictionary of All Ancient Deities by Patricia Turner and Charles Russell Coulter. Patricia Turner and Charles Russell Coulter. You know, Patricia Turner and Charles Russell Coulter, C-O-U-L-T-E-R. It's called the Dictionary of All Ancient Deities. You can find this book in any mythology section in Barnes & Nobles or Borders. You can find this book. Now, the reason why I'm recommending this book here is because this book has every deity known to man except Apollo, which we'll get into, because the simple fact Apollo, a lot of the stuff was not released on Apollo when they was compiling this book. Apollo is the stuff that comes out of Puerto Rico and Cuba by way of the Congo. But this particular one here is a must-have. Why? Because this particular book here, let's say you don't know anything about deities, but let's say you're in a particular system. So you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or you learn about another deity. Only thing you got to do is look up the deity in your system So you look up Jesus or Mary, look up a Hebrew deity that you are familiar with, and at the bottom they'll say compare with such and such from the other systems. So this is a good comprehensive book so you can learn the comprehensive or the correspondence of other deities based on the system that you know. So let's say you're into the Egyptian thing and you want to know the equivalent of Isis. Well, they'll give you all the stuff on Isis or Aset, but at the bottom, they're going to say compare with Astarte, compare with Ishtar, compare with this. So this is key right now, how you can cross-reference the system, and this particular book is the best one on the planet because of that. Because remember now, we're still dealing with just ancient fragments. And if you're stuck in one system thinking it's going to be the utopian or the utopia of all what you're going to get, then you're going to be just as dead. That's like jumping from the pot to the frying pan. Because we're trained to go to one system. You see what I'm saying? But then again, on the other hand, we're not talking about religion here. We're talking about education. That's the difference between the ancient systems was education. So it was a multiplicity of trying to understand the universe other than going in some worship. We're not talking about worship now. Worship is not going to get you nowhere. You understand what I'm saying? That's not, you might as well go and get your butt plugged too. Or whatever. Because worship ain't going to get you nowhere. We're talking about the gods being educated. There's a difference. You've gone past the worship. You're now becoming the gods that will take over the universe, which we're going to get are very key and very crucial. Very key and very crucial. That's what's going on in the movie The X-Men. That's what Bruce Almighty was about. But they'll realize in that movie they told the truth. The white man ain't equipped for it. You see what I'm saying? But that's the whole concept that's going on between Matrix versus the Matrix versus Neo in them. You see, so any of these particular systems here and all, we're talking education. Now, so we don't want to hear nothing. That's hard, man. How am I learn all that? Well, you learn all that shit for the cracker. You know what I'm saying? Cracker tell you on your job that he wants you to do something. You learn it. You see what I'm saying? You learn it. No problem. You see, and the cracker tell you he wants you to be certified and tell you you got a couple of months, you burn the midnight oil. But this particular book is an excellent book because this particular book here will give you the correspondence of the deity. So if there was ever one that you would put in there that you would get, you know, some people say, well, give me one book that I can get the thorough aspect. Well, you're not going to be able to get the thorough anything out of one book, but if you want to get a book that comes close to it, this is the one, the Dictionary of All Ancient Deities. This is the one that you want. I mean, but me studying 15 years, I couldn't put it down as far as just even confirming things. You see, so this is the one you want to get and all at this particular time. As we go on and all, if I can, we can just write them down, but because we want to give out these new entities. These are new entities that came to the earth between. I'll give them out in a few minutes, not right now. But they came to the earth between 2001. The last one I got was there was 5 that came during the time the Matrix was released, which is very key. In all it's 20, it's 29 of them. We got 10 of them that's active. So what happens here is, when the first one comes, it has to be a study and to try to understand more about them. But in the past 2 years, we were able to get 10 of them that is active enough that you can 10 or 11, about 11. Which means here is this here. If there were some entities that you were dealing with, because this is how the mystery goes. I'm still not talking about worship. If there are some entities that you're dealing with, certain energies, those energies based on the 2000s of the millennium had to mutate into a new entity that would be an entity that would go into the future. Fortunately, the only ones that were able to go into the future or mutate into a newer entity are the entities that were inside of us. So what happened here is, what we're talking about here, we're talking about transmutated souls. So these are the entities that will go to the next level. Fortunately, these particular entities are not out here floating around. They are components or aspects that's inside of you. You see what I'm saying? So the difference between the ones in the past were some of those were elemental beings that was outside of you and we depended on until the entities inside of us became, came out of dormancy and became active. So these are the first ones to become active. So you say, well, what does this mean? This means if you need some energy, you need some help, or you need to tap into something, whether it be spiritual, whether it be help on the physical, calling on entities that hundreds of thousands of people call on, you pretty much not gonna get no help. Even is stuff like the Yoruba and thing, there's reports that this stuff is not even helping anymore. You know what I'm saying? So you pretty much, the only one that is still powerful enough that can give you some assistance is the Apollo. Is the Apollo. So what happens here is in this multiple deity system, whenever you're calling on these particular entities, you want to get some stuff that works. Well, other than the Apollo deities, the new ones are the ones that's the most powerful. As a matter of fact, by me being in this thing, being in this science for at least 15 years, but at least 11 years of teaching, and I depended on the ancient gods. Now I want you to get this book because you still got to understand the concepts of these particular, and their natures of these particular entities. So this book here is a must-have. But the point I'm trying to make here is this. Ever since 2001, the entities that I used to call on would be the stuff that I was dependent upon like everybody else, because you know we learning these new entities and all. Ever since 2001, the entities that I was able to conjure up, or the ones that I've been in communication with, have been these particular ones that actually came to us. And I say us because although I was the person that they were communicating to, it was beautiful that I didn't come up with the deities. And I said, man, the spirit world got this shit worked out. So what happened is, in communication with two sisters, one sister on the East Coast, another sister on the West Coast, another sister on the West Coast, and about three other sisters that got a deity, about 3 deities apiece. All of these deities came from the sisters. They came from the females. That's the first thing. That's like in the movie, the Minority Report. When I saw that movie, they was trying to do some stuff with the psychic, but it was the feminine psychic was the one that had all the juice. So it was so beautiful that it didn't come from me, because the first thing niggas would be saying, well, damn, Bobby trying to make up his own little god system. Nigga done gone fool. I already know how black people think. You know, that nigga done went here, you know, he used to do it, and all of a sudden he got these new names, some shit he done came up with. So it was beautiful that it came through the sister Kimberly down in Atlanta, and the sister Kay in Los Angeles, and 3 other sisters came up with 3 ones in the last, since January. 3 other sisters came up with one each. So it's interesting, but the bulk of them came from through 2 spiritual psychic sisters. You see what I'm saying? Psychic sisters. And so I'm glad that this particular stuff came, so it makes it a little more authentic. Then again, than you coming to here to the church of Bobby Hemmitt, and I'm giving you my new stuff and, you know, and all, and telling you to do this and all, and the next thing you know and all, you know, I'll be telling you to give over your wives to me and your money and all this kind of shit here. So the spirit worked it out, you know, and all, that it didn't come through me. It came through me as well as the system that I was in, but the sisters that actually pulled down these things. And so there's some people that came through. Like, take for instance, when the movie The Matrix came out on May 15th. We was on the phone talking, and the sister Kimberly, she said, there's some real primal entities trying to get in touch with you. They were trying to come through. I said, well, hell, I need some names. Give me some names. So that I can understand who these particular entities are. And she said she couldn't get anything. She said, and before she get her hand on the phone, she said, call Kay out in L.A. They tell you to call Kay in L.A. and Kay can get them. So I called Kay's mother, which Kay's mother is the one that's been in this stuff for years. She used to hang out with Malcolm X and all them, and was under Elijah Muhammad. So she's been in this stuff for years. So I called her, we talking, she said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get Kay to get it when she come in. So actually, they open up Kay for the mother. So the mother is the real strong spirit, and they open up the daughter who was conscious, they open her up as the mother communicator to the spirit world. So this is how this thing is like a whole civilization. So I call her Sister Shakira and tell her, I say, well, Kimberly just got about 3 or 4 or 5 entities, and I need the name. She said, well, when Kay get in, I'll ask her to get the name. So when Kay got in, when I called Kay about 12 o'clock that evening, that night, that morning, with 12 o'clock my time, you see, out in L.A., she had all 5, it was 5 deities. And I said, damn, how did I know it was going to be about 5 deities? You see, so this is how the actual system actually works. But as a result, this is the stuff that's working. I was talking to a sister from Pittsburgh, and I was saying, you know, tap in. And she was like, it's hard to tap in. Then one of them, Shayola, came, which I've been talking about for the last year. Shayola came and said, I am with you all the time, and I'm never outside of you. And I said, oh, okay then. So what I'm trying to say here is these new entities are the ones that we deal with now, because those are the ones that's active. That means that we got entities that are not in a system where there's thousands of people pulling on. And basically, the energy is no different than any other time you get on the floor and pray and stuff like that and don't get no damn response. Now, unless you get up off your ass and do something anyway. You see what I'm saying? So, what we're talking about here is another ecological system, and this is the one that actually works here. So, the good part about it is now we're dealing with goods. We're dealing with stuff that's not just concepts and theories of things. We're actually dealing with living. We're in that particular spirit world. Now, like I said before, the white boy, this is the kind of breakthroughs that he's looking for. So I'm going to give up 10 of these, the ones that's active. There's 10 of them that's active. I've been talking about the 5, but there's 10 that is active and stuff like that now. Does anybody need some paper? Because we can give these out now. I'll tell you what, let me pull libations, and then we're gonna, let me pull libations first, and then we'll go into that particular science, because we got a lot to cover. We still got to cover the rat thing, we got to cover, I mean, it's just tons of stuff we got to cover. Also, what I want to do here is I do this every so many years and stuff, and then update it, is I want to give the metaphysics of the Bible. And the reason why I say that is because it's just like C. Manel said, well, if you're going to come at your people, the one that they're going to be most familiar with is every damn body's a Christian. At least you was one. So when we give out, so you know what I'm saying? So by us being, so I want to give out some more metaphysical aspects of the breakdown of the Bible. Not going to give out the whole thing, but I'm trying to say I'm going to give out enough of this particular information. And basically you will get an aspect of what these scriptures are actually talking about here, because you had so many people interpreting the scriptures based on prophetic things, and the locusts gonna come and all this kind of shit here, you know. And you had all these particular commentaries and stuff, especially from European standpoint of view, or ignorant black men preachers and whatever the deal here is. So what I want to do here is give some of this particular stuff that is coming from the esoteric aspect. Because we talk about, you know, all of this stuff here, even though this stuff is edited from ancient fragments and motifs, and the Romans edited these things from the ancient fragments, still they're ancient fragments, and that means that if they plagiarize them, they still have another meaning. So therefore, we want to break down those actual esoteric meanings of what those particular things mean. You see what I'm saying? And so we want to get into this. And what I do is I put this together, and I did a lecture in New York, I did one in Pittsburgh. And as we do it, what happens is the spirit refines the stuff until by the 3rd time it really gets into the meat of the thing and stuff like that. So I want to give that particular part. So let's go into the question and answer. Also, I've been talking about this for years. We'll still give that part of Osiris in the Bible so many times. You know what I'm saying and all. Which is also Lazarus. You know, Osiris, Lazarus is Osiris. You see what I'm saying? And we was talking about this today. One about, you said a dog licked the wound The dog the dog was supposed to lick the Lazarus wound and it's supposed to had healed and all. What's the metaphysical thing? The dog represents Anubis. You see what I'm saying? Which is the god of the underworld, of the embalmer. You see what I'm saying? Lazarus is Osiris. Lazarus, Lazarus. You see what I'm saying? You see, so we get these particular modified words even in the Bible. You see, now I've talked about before when you can get the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament of the Old Testament of the Tanakh, which is probably the biggest Old Testament, and in that particular book, you see all these Egyptian terms up in there. So we know that all that stuff is nothing but culture's editing stuff on and on and on. So let's go into we'll go into the libation, and I didn't even get no water, but I tell you what, I just opened one of these up and they can get a little bubble and shit. It's some sparkling water, that's good enough for them. I put that right back there for them and all. They might get a little kick out of that. And we'll pour some of this and stuff and spit some of this. I'll spit some of this and then we'll spit some of this, and what we'll do is I'm going to call out some of these entities and we'll go through the roll call and get the energy up in here, and then we're going to go from there. This is still elixir. We talk about the Windsor Canadian whiskey and London Gordon's London Dry Gin. That's the better stuff. Windsor Canadian whiskey and Gordon's London Dry Gin. Or there's a new one. There's some other ones that came out since that. The El Cristo Negro is one, which is Windsor Canadian whiskey and Castellio rum. These particular Castellio rum, these are ones that you can do also. So we're gonna put this elixir and stuff, which was doing wonders. Like I said, the last time I was here, one sister was rubbing this shit on her breast and her boobs got bigger. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the deal is and stuff. So you know, but it was not necessarily the actual liquor. It was the actual three entities behind it. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about. We're talking about, like, take for instance, my hand, this hand, about a month ago, I was cooking some fucking tofu and was frying the shit, and you know, and was frying, and I put the grease in a little cup. You know, after you pour the grease, put the grease in the cup, and was cleaning up, and then realized the cup was hot. Grabbed the cup, and the damn grease popped all on the back of my hand. Hot grease on the back of my hand. So I called on the three sisters. Well, I actually called on the Goddess Oshun, but I found out it was also the three sisters that was working on it at this particular time. And my hand never got damaged. You see what I'm saying? Now, you know damn well, if some hot grease would have hit your shit a month ago, this shit's supposed to be white. And, you know, it burned, it was burning, and then so it was burning like